and recording right now, and I'll get back in about 30, 40 seconds.
Hey, Bill.
Yes, Kevin.
Sorry to bother again. Do you
no problem.
Do you by chance have Snagit going? Because I'm getting a little.
What do you say? There's the recorder button is. Let me close it. Did that help?
Yes. Still kind of.
I got another ghosting thing here. I'll be able to close. Let me see some more stuff. Still ghosting? Still got something in the way?
Looks good now. So.
Okay, we'll give it a shot. All right, I guess I'll go ahead and get started. It's 1 o'clock. I went ahead and muted everybody. Hopefully, I think so. The ones that can be muted. It's nice to see a lot of people on here today. This is the July CADD advisory group meeting, and we will have the August one on the 18th, which is the third Tuesday of the month, which we kind of try to do all these on the third Tuesday of the month at 1 o'clock. And the call-in number is good if you're calling in, but if you got WebEx and you got a headset, it works out better that way. Okay, got a few things we're going to go over today. We got, and I'll get to them when we get to it, but I'm going to keep this going on with the support working from home thing. The email is the best way to get a hold of us. You can email us at CADD support and we'll all get the email. Or if you have a specific problem, there'll be a slide at the end that shows all our disciplines, and you can contact us that way. Another way to do it is that instant messaging and Skype works really well, and that Microsoft Teams is working out really well as well. We can share screens and see what you're working on, and that stuff is really handy for what we need to do. So we'll keep doing that. Classroom schedule, there's no face-to-face classes scheduled for August, so I don't know when we're going to go back to the classroom thing, but we'll let you all know when that happens. Push out some mass emails on that. I'm going to leave this slide in here for the new hire training. It's the program deliverables page. It's got the links out there for the Microsoft for Design, so you can go out and take the class, and the Power Geopack Road 1. So we've got those links out there. I'm going to leave this in the PowerPoint. The month's videos and PowerPoint will be placed on the Geopack blog, and there's a link to it as well on this page. So I'll leave this all on the blog, and you'll be able to access the PowerPoint, click on these links and go. And there's a lot of stuff out there, especially on our CAD services page and the blog page. Some ORD updates, just so you know what's going on. We're finishing up with Road 1 videos. Most of the classes has been done. We just need to get the videos all out there and in order. We're waiting on some bugs to be resolved. Some of them are pretty minor, but some of them are pretty good. I don't think we got any more showstoppers, but we got a lot of things that need to be fixed. Some things that they didn't bring forward, basically some items that were in SS4 that are not in ORD, and we need to see them come forward as well. And ODOT is not the only DOT waiting for bug resolutions. We've had a few meetings with other DOTs, and there's a long list of stuff that other DOTs are looking for as well that will affect us also. Bentley's still working on speed issues, mainly now with opening and checking in files within ProjectWise. But by the time we push all this, hopefully we got this all taken care of. This is just a slide to just let you know what's going on in the background, that we're getting ready for ORD. There's some ORD thoughts that we're going to look at. One is the pavement markings chapter. We had that in SS4. We had a chapter specifically for the Shannon developed this and put it out there, and we taught it in class a couple times. We just want to know, and these are just thoughts, something that you guys need to think about. Maybe send us an email, let us know what your thoughts on it. We need to know what you guys do for pavements. I mean, what we used to do, or what we've been doing, or probably using the SS2, the old DNC manager tools to get your pavement markings and your quantities off of that, which when we go to ORD, there will be no such thing. So there's feature definitions out there that we can use and some other ways of doing it, but it's something that we need to think about, pavement markings. If you like that SS4 chapter 10, I believe it was, or 11, whatever it was on that, maybe that's something we'll push forward as well. So it's just something to think about. And if you wouldn't mind participating by sending us an email on this, that'd be great. More ORD thoughts is right now when we cut cross sections and we do them in our PDFs, our cross sections are created from the bottom left and they go up. So if you're doing multiple cross sections, you go from the bottom to the top, starting at the bottom, and then it goes to the next row, and it does the same thing. It goes to the bottom, goes to the top, and then it goes as many rows as it needs, and it squeezes them all in there for your sheets. Okay, so we've got a request to actually change it up so that maybe we go from the top to the bottom, and then it goes to the next row and does the same thing all the way down. Now, what this does is when you open up a PDF, you'd be able to scroll through your PDF and see each stationing at the top all the way down instead of having to move down to the bottom of the sheet and then go up to the top of the stationing. So it's just another one of them thoughts that we need, your guys' comments on, some kind of input on what you think would be a good resolution to this. So throwing that out there. Okay, so that's basically my pieces that I've got to say. So I'm going to show a video here, and I hope it works out well. And I'll have Shannon or Kevin give me a yell. Yes.
I'll just say a little something about this. This is what Bill's getting ready to show is the access ramp demo. It's from Transoft Solutions. I recorded a video because our demonstration license runs out today, and I wasn't going to be sure if it was going to actually work for us today. So this is actually going to be just a video. It's out there on our YouTube page as well. But it kind of goes through a little bit of what that will do. It deals with ADA ramps. So if you're creating sidewalks or anything like that, this would really help in the creation of the ADA ramps to get your elevations and maybe your widths of pavement and things like that.
That's all you got?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna click it. Let's see if it plays well.
Prepare to sleep. Bill, did you share this with the video version?
Does it look bad?
No, I don't hear anything.
It looks good, but no sound, Bill.
Okay, you guys can't hear that? Let me try something different.
Hey, Shannon, did you mention that we don't own this software, that we're just demoing? I think you said that, but I wanted to point that out.
Yes, correct.
So Shannon, if he can't get the sound going, do you think you can lip sync to it or not?
Oh, I'd rather not, but I probably could, I guess. There it is. I hear it. A new program called Access Ramp. It's
You guys
by
hear that?
Transoft Solutions. It's by the
Yes.
makers of Auto Turn, Taurus Roundabout, and the Diamond Interchange tools that we currently own and operate. When it's installed in ORD, you can see it's got its own ribbon area. So when you expand that out, you'll see that we've got all kinds of different tools. It looks similar to the rest of the Transoft tools. First of all, you have a settings, which will load up the license and the program for this one. And so your normal program settings are in here if you're dealing with feet or inches or whatever you're dealing with there. Different things down here, design guidelines. So right now I just have Missouri DOT and the ADA AG, which is the default that comes from Transoft. But as you can see, they've been working with a lot of different states and getting their standards, and we sent them our standards some time back, and so they're using our curbs and curb heights and different types of curbs that we have to create these access ramps. So overall, the tool is designed to create all the line work and even a surface for an ADA compliant sidewalk or curb ramp in different locations. You can kind of see I have one drawn back here already. The one I'm going to show you is going to deal with this location right here where I want to have an ADA ramp that might go across a curbed roadway. As you can see, I created one here earlier that also does the arc inside of a radius return for an intersection. And it'll complete all this information. You can go modify it after it's been placed out there and modify the length of it, modify the elevations of certain points on there. Most of the rest of these things are just informational in here. Then there's properties, so we can go in and set up different levels that these things go on, set up the colors for the curb ramps, colors for annotation. And all you have to do is just kind of click on the little palette that they have out there and go out and change any of the information that you see here. Okay. The other thing here, design guidelines. If you wanted to make your own, if you didn't like the ones that came with the software, you can copy one of these and make any of the changes you want or create a brand new one even, or even just take a look at what's involved with one. So you can kind of see these are the different types that are in the one that we've got selected here, perpendicular. That's kind of the one I'll be trying to do here or show. So it'll have the flares and all the information for creating that will be based on the Missouri DOT, but the shape and everything can be created from the Transoft solution one. So you can mix and match different things. The other options you have in here is to generate the ramp, edit the ramp after the fact, and generate reports. It even comes with tutorials and some help that you can get from this. The edit ramp, I find that sometimes when you come into a ORD file, it doesn't automatically always let you just select the ramp and edit it. Sometimes you have to go out and come back in, but in this one it'll probably allow it. So what I've done is I've got roadway out here that has curb information on it, and elevations are based on the corridor, and then also in that corridor we have a sidewalk, and I've just done a small area right here where I've done a parametric constraint. So we've got a normal sidewalk coming in. I want the sidewalk to meet up with the curb here and then come back out. And so I've just got a little parametric constraint in there to allow us to put in our curb ramp through this section. Okay, so I do have a couple of lines drawn out here. There's a line right there that represents the back of the curb and then also the front of the sidewalk. And then I've got one here that deals with the back of the sidewalk. As you can see, this is just the regular one that comes with our templates. It's got a buffer here, a sidewalk, and then another buffer. So just to show how this works, we've got the generate ramp tool. And that's going to pull this information up to say what kind of guidelines do you want. As far as the shape goes, the ones that come with the program are pretty decent shapes. And then what you can do is come down here and select what the curb standard is after that. And so for our curbs, we can use the Missouri DOT ones. And that'll give a list of the different curb types that we have for Missouri DOT. So I'll just do a type A gutter in there. And then it says, well, what do you want to anchor this on? So you have all four different things in here that you can choose from to anchor your curb information to. We'll just do the back of the curb. That's the line that I have drawn out here. I don't think you have to necessarily draw your own line work in there, but I like to do that so I know that my profiles are good throughout here. You could use the ones that come with the template. I have done that. That's what's happening up here in this one. I've just used the lines that come with the template and created our information off of that. And you can do that here. Okay, once you get this set up, like I'm going to do the perpendicular one, you can see there are other kinds. The blended transition, that's what I used up here. Depressed corner, there's a parallel one. If you wanted to do that, I'm going to do this perpendicular one. So we'll say okay to that. And now this one doesn't have pop-ups like say our civil cells do. What it does is it shows you down here in the lower left corner what it wants. So it says pick the curb geometry to anchor. So that's going to be the back of the curb. So we're going to pick that line. It's going to go out and take a look at it and see if it's got elevation to it. If it's got elevation to it, then it will allow you to do that. Okay. So I'll say okay to that. It says a secondary element. So we can pick that secondary element. And it's looking at the sidewalk proposed. So we've got that as an elevation. So we'll say okay. And then it wants to know where your saw cuts are going to be for placing this. You can just actually left click data point on there. You can move these saw cuts at any point. So we're just going to come out here and I'm just going to go beyond the sidewalk area. Click it in there and then it asks for the next point. So I'll left click in there. And you just have to be in between these two lines to place it. If you go too far left or right, you'll see that red text that appears that says it can't do it. So we're just going to left click and place that in here. And it will start to place that curb ramp. And once you get that in there, all this information is adjustable. You can click on the different parts and change them around. So that initial placement, you don't necessarily have to worry about getting it perfect. You can come in and create those. Now there's different parts in this curb ramp that you can modify. And then this edit ramp also just brings back up this edit curb ramp. So the first time when you place it, it's really just switching to the next tool to edit ramp. And then you can make all the changes you want. If something's in red, then it's out of compliance and you have to do different things in there to modify that or change it. One thing is you can create compliant flares. So you can go ahead and check mark that and it'll adjust these flares to make that slope reach the max or be under the max. The other thing is you got cross slopes up here. You can zoom in at this location. You can see that there are certain things that you can change, like these elevations throughout here. So we've got an elevation for our outer points, and then we've got, if you look in, zoom in, you can see 4 equals that information. So here's 4. So if you wanted to change the elevation at that point, you could do that. And that's all you do is you end up changing these elevations and getting your cross slopes to reduce. Okay. Down here at the bottom, you also have this generate surface. So you can turn that on and it'll say, where do you want to see the surface? I want to see it over in the default 3D. And it'll go ahead and create a surface out there for you that you can use to clip out, trim, whatever you want to do. So if you say that you're good with this one, you can go ahead and click OK. Later we can come back and modify that, but it's created that surface for us. If we go to edit ramp, all you have to do is pick on any area on that ramp and it'll pull it right back up. So if you needed to or wanted to make adjustments to this, you could do that at any point. And as you can see, if I change that elevation, it puts that cross slope down, but then it makes the other slope percentage go up. So you just have to modify these elevations to get it the way you want it. Okay, if you look at the 3D that it created, so I'll just go back over into the 3D. It's created this surface out here for you. And with this just being a regular surface, if I click on that, you can get the heads up on it. You can see you've got all the surface tools. You can make it active. You can export it out. You can put even a pavement template or something like that on it, just like you can with our regular surfaces. The other thing you can do is clip out. So if I want to zoom out just a little bit and say I want to clip that sidewalk out, you can hover over the grips for the corridor, come into our regular clipping tools, add a clipping reference, and you can come out and select that surface. And then when you reset, it will go ahead and clip out that sidewalk and put in our new sidewalk surface that will overtake that. So if we want to take a look at what that did for us, you can see that it has created a curb ramp right in there for us and brought in the curb, slid it down. Now we've got that opening right there. As you can see, that it's gone back up and met the sidewalk on either side. So it's not too bad. It's got a little glitches here and there still every once in a while. You can see in the surface back there, it kind of changes it up a little bit. But we can make modifications to that. It would be a short little modification, really easy to create the curb ramp, and then just go modify the surface a little bit if you need to. So you can see that would save you a lot of time trying to create this model by hand. So you can kind of see how that tool works. So it's a really neat tool. We're looking at it right now. I think we may hopefully get to use it some in the future. I don't know how much ADA we do currently, but if we end up doing a lot of ADA, this tool could really save some time in creating that. If you had just a sidewalk project, this would be could be a lifesaver trying to figure out how to create these surfaces. So that's the access ramp tools, and that'll do it for this video. Okay, so MoDOT is evaluating a new program. Yeah, let's watch it again. That was wonderful. Let's watch it again.
Oh, you yelled and woke me up, knocking.
Yeah, well, I wanted to wake everybody up.
All right, I'm going to share, or have you give you presenter? You wanted to share something you said.
I was just going to show that you can create reports with it. Yeah, if you want to switch that over.
Sure enough. Passing.
All right. So what we were seeing in this program was this exact dialog box, and you can go back, make these changes, these elevations, and your overall goal is basically just to get the cross slope to be below 2%. And these this data in here is filled in by picking that Missouri standard. So other states have a little bit different standards, but the Missouri standard locks in these numbers in here that it tries to meet or do better than. One of the things that it did create out here for us is a report. So if you do a generate report, probably have to close that one out. I don't even know if it'll do it in here. We'll see. Now that's what I was talking about earlier. Sometimes it won't let you pick that curb ramp, but I do actually have that information saved out here to show you what it did. It makes two different CSV files. You've got one that'll do a demo for the points. So if I open that one up, this is one of the reports that it creates. It creates a northing, easting, or XY, and an elevation for all the different points that it took to make up that access ramp. So that's one of the reports. And then the other report is basically what you use to create the ramp with. So open that one up, and it's got basically how did you create it? You know, what's involved when creating this one. You use the ADA, AG design guidelines and so forth to create it. And so those are the reports I wanted to show. It's really not difficult. I think as long as you have your information in here correctly where you want it. So on mine, I drew a line over the top of my sidewalks, and then I just projected that that profile up to those lines to create it. But you could do what you wanted to with this. You could use the sidewalk that comes in off of the corridor, and it pretty much gives you the same thing. The only reason I like to draw lines for something like that is I have more control over it. I could go in and change that profile that is on those two lines, and I wouldn't have to try to figure out how to change the whole corridor. I could just change those two lines. But there's all kinds of different ways to do it. The one that was up here is pretty good too. Now this one I just used the arc tool, the simple arc, and connected the sidewalks and the curb data, and then just created it along there. And really it's the same thing. I just selected these two arcs out here to create that, and it goes ahead and places it So I don't know if you can hear my kid in the background, but it's like daddy daycare here, always, all day. But good stuff. Maybe you guys have the same thing going on. I don't know, but you probably don't have Spider-Man jumping around in your living room. I don't know. But that is what I had to show on that one, and I will stop sharing.
Thank you, Shannon. Take my roll back. Change it. Okay, so that brings up George Kipp is going to give us a little presentation on the RTK Asset Management Database. So let me see if I can get this over to George. Let me stop the running. Pick George. I'll make you the presenter, George. Can you get your mic unmuted?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you fine.
Awesome.
You should be presenter now to be able to share your screen.
Okay.
All right, we can see it, man.
Excellent. Well, first of all, I want to thank Bill for giving me time here on the CAD Advisory Group WebEx. By way of introductions, my name is George Kipp. I'm the GIS specialist for CAD services, and I'd like to talk a little bit today about our RTK network and asset management project we're working on. This is a little outside the scope of CAD, but it'd be nice to share some of our GIS work that we do here as well. So for those of you that may be unaware, MoDOT maintains a network of what are called real-time kinematic or RTK GPS base stations. RTK allows users to get a very high accuracy signal from a GNSS satellite. GNSS is the umbrella term for things like GPS, which is just the American GNSS. Modern GPS receivers can also receive position signals from like the Russian satellite network, the Chinese satellite network, and Europeans. So what the RTK network does is it collects the satellite information and actually broadcasts a corrected signal in real time. Those of you that have used any kind of GPS receiver, including your smartphone, may know that the accuracy on those can be up to 3 meters of accuracy. However, RTK can calculate and broadcast the position in real time as on the fly that is sub-meter and usually within a centimeter of accuracy. This has a lot of benefits for the state of Missouri, and every designer has probably used RTK and may not be aware of it. RTK is primarily used by surveyors so that they can collect high accuracy and for like field shots without the need to what was called post-process the data. In the past, surveyors or anybody else would have to collect their data, then take it back to the computer, post-process it, and compare it to these RTK base stations, and then they could get a corrected position. However, RTK can do this on the fly in real time. So it also eliminates the need for like local base stations. That was a workaround for surveyors that they could set up what were project-specific base stations that would have a corrected signal. It also is a real benefit for things like precision agriculture, and in the future, when it comes time for autonomous vehicles, we'll rely heavily on RTK. So a little bit about our RTK network. MoDOT, we have 83 active sites and 7 new sites that we hope to have come on here. You can see kind of a breakdown. Most of those are maintained in MoDOT maintenance sheds. There are a few, though, that are maintained by the Iowa, Arkansas DOTs and a couple by other entities. I included a link at the bottom there, and I'll give a demo of our GPS network shortly. 63 of our RTK sites are part of the National Geodetic Survey, which is a sub-agency of NOAA. This allows the signals from the space stations to be uploaded to the internet and stored for 30 days so that people can access historical GPS data. Getting to why we're presenting today about asset management. In the past, we had a list of our RTK stations and all the assets included on those, like in an old Access database and other kinds of Excel spreadsheets. That gets to be a problem is that deploying and maintaining these sites can be very labor intensive, and there needs to be a process to track these assets and make sure that they're within their useful lifespan. A lot of times the antennas go out and need to be changed, the receivers need to be changed out, or they get swapped to different sites. This created a logistical headache for the CADD service unit to kind of manage not only the physical inventory, but also like when sites were serviced, when the equipment was serviced, what equipment was reaching its end of life. And so we created an asset management database that is spatially aware so that we can plan for the acquisition and disposal of new assets, track the service that is performed on the sites and on the equipment, and plan to dispose of that. It will help for work planning and budgeting in the future so that we can have a more precise picture of what we need to replace and maintain. So I'll give a quick demonstration of our database. Our database is right now managed through ArcGIS. So you can see here is all our RTK sites that exist across the state. Now, another benefit to this, as opposed to having something in Access, is that we can send somebody out with a laptop, or in the future, hopefully, a tablet or an iPhone, and they'll be able to track the assets and the maintenance as they're working on the site. So you can see here, that you can see here we have information about each site here. I include the site here in Jeff City. We can see that it is in service. I can see that it's a Trimble Zephyr, and it was installed in September of 2019. You can also track the contacts for the site, so I know, so that if there's an issue with the site, we know who to contact. And we can also get information about the network receiver to tell that's a Trimble Alloy. We know the firmware, and we know when that was installed and when that was updated. This will allow us in the future to generate reports and upload this information online, so we have a better picture of what our assets are, when they're installed, when their end of life date is, and we can also work with local maintenance staff more to perhaps perform some corrective maintenance for us. This information comes from these receivers are connected to the internet, so we can get a live status update on them as well. So we can see across, these are all our network receivers here, and we can see that we do have a couple right now that are not broadcasting their signal. So therefore, we can go to our asset database again, contact the local maintenance shed staff, and see if there's any issues at the site without having to physically drive there. In the future, we hope to have a few enhancements that will allow us to get, as I mentioned previously, to perform work with mobile devices like tablets or phones. So we hope to upload this data to ArcGIS Online and use ArcGIS Collector to collect our field data, and schedule maintenance with a product called ArcGIS Workforce. We can also aggregate all this information, including the station health updates from the GPS web, to provide a live dashboard using Operations Dashboard. And this will also allow us to automate form submission for to the National Geodetic Survey for our core sites. We hope to add more core sites in the future. So in order to do that, we need to, right now we have to manually fill out forms and attach pictures. In the future, we'll be able to automate that process so we can just print out the forms and send them in. Also, when it comes time for the annual inventory, property inventory, we can automate a lot of that just by, printing off where our assets are and delivering that information. And some further information. I will be putting this PowerPoint on our GIS Wiki, which is on in the design division under CAD support and GIS Wiki. But there, you can also follow the RTK network on Twitter, and you can click on the links to get more information about the National Geodetic Survey or the core sites, as well as log into our MoDOT GPS network. I'd like to thank Bill again for allowing me a few minutes to discuss our RTK network and open it up for any questions if there are any.
Thank you, George. Appreciate it, man. I noticed you didn't put your personal Twitter out there. I noticed that.
Yeah, thanks.
What?
Okay, I'll go ahead and stop sharing.
Okay. I'll go ahead and share. And okay. All kinds of things in the way. Okay, that's pretty much concludes this month. So, I mean, if anybody's got any questions, we're here for that. Again, we got a lot of things out there for thoughts. If you guys want to send emails about those thoughts that we had in here. Any questions at this time over anything that was covered?
Yeah, Bill, I got a quick question.
Sure thing, Mike.
On the ADI access from Transoft, are we going to have to treat that like civil cells and have a separate corridor file for them, or can that be all done in the same corridor file?
Hey, Mike, this is Shannon. Hey, it creates a cell, but it's not a civil cell. It's really just 2D geometry, and then it will create a surface for you in your 3D default window. So you could put it in your corridor file, or you could put it pretty much anywhere. It's really not very hard on the file at all. It's almost like just a regular MicroStation cell that they can read into their program.
Good to know. Thanks, Shannon.
No problem. It's actually pretty cool. I've had a couple of little issues with it, but nothing major so far. And I think as good as your geometry is how good that thing's going to be. So if you've got a profile that's off a little bit, so will that ADA ramp be. So you just got to, garbage in, garbage out type thing for sure on that one.
Thank you, Mike, for the question. Any other questions, guys? Again, there's some ideas we were throwing out there in this. If you guys wouldn't mind getting back to us on that, that would help us out. I don't know what we'll have for the 18th of August, but that'll be our next meeting. Thank you for attending. See you in August.